Welcome back to Made Up of Wires. We're probably going to have a shorter stream today. Early release day means early released kids. And so I have other obligations to get to. Yesterday we were working on some of the long library stuff. I did send that out for PR. I haven't checked on that PR. I was breaking other things yesterday and got a bunch of that fixed, hopefully for good this time. So I had been wanting to upgrade the version of Splat. Splat is the tool that we use for splitting the PlayStation and PSP binaries. I was looking at it. It doesn't look like it supports Saturn yet, but I may look into how difficult that is or is not to do. And I'll talk a little bit about what I was doing with Splat in the last day. But I wanted to upgrade Splat to the latest version so that I could add some features. Really, I was focused on performance, but there were some other things that took precedence over that. And I'll submit those later today. We'll talk about it a little bit on the stream later. And then yesterday I was complaining that nobody had gone through yet. Why haven't people done my work for me? Nobody had gone through and decompiled the header for the long library yet, so I did some of that work, and we'll look at that as well. And then, yeah, I'm going to have to leave a bit early, so apologies if you wanted to hang out for a while, but I can't do it today. So let's talk about Splat a little bit. So Splat is, like I mentioned, it's a tool for splitting files, and we use that very extensively every time a new overlay is added. An overlay is a stage, a boss, weapons, familiars. Each of those individual instances of those things is another overlay, so we have lots of them. We have probably 50 or more overlays on the project. And every time we create one, we have to create a new file. And let's look at the center room, for example. That file becomes relatively complicated. And one of the things that we have in this is a ton of boilerplate that basically needs to be repeated for every overlay. Sometimes, as in the PSP case, we get the benefit of let me open one that's relatively done. We get the benefit of using some variables in place, but these variables are very limited, and Splat only supports a few of them, which I think would be nice to change in the future as well. And maybe we'll be able to do that, we'll see. And so, coming from a background where trees is the thing and inheritance uber alles, maybe, my thought was, why can't we use inheritance with Splat? That would be nice. And then instead of having stages that have largely the same layout, we could, for example, create a, say, US stage config and grab all the common stuff between these, throw it into that common file, get rid of all the ones that are specific to that specific stage, and then in Splat, define a parent, and then nuke everything that we don't need. Oops, those were unique. So then we get rid of a bunch, and what's left is largely the unique things for this. Wouldn't it be great if we could use maybe other variables that we define and stick that in st0 instead, or even just the base name. Base name might be possible, but maybe not. So that is the thing that I've been working on with Splat, and have a diff ready to go. Haven't sent out the PR yet, but it was pretty straightforward. Splat already supported merging config. That's the merge config here. I didn't change any of this at all. It was already there. The only thing I added really was checking for this parent key, and then resolving the path based on the current file, or an include path that can be specified. And then adding tests and making sure that it worked and all that kind of stuff. So we'll see if the Splat team is interested in taking that change on, but I think it's a pretty nice change. A lot of their focus has been on single binary projects, and so this isn't necessarily the bread and butter of that project, but yeah, like I said, we'll see if it works out that way. It does support not multiple inheritance, but multiple levels of inheritance. So recursively, you can, in my example, I could create a US YAML and go even further, create another parent, and pare this down even more. So it's always going to be PlayStation. It's always going to be the upper directory. Get rid of GCC. For US, we're always going to use these symbols. And oh no, that's one. Sorry, we are specifying the US one here. And then the rest of this can go away. And so then if we created a JP10 version in the matrix, we could even take this up one more because oh, actually, I just need stage things here. And there isn't, we don't have any stage specific things. So actually this one probably would just include the parent and nothing else. And we keep everything there. If we wanted to, we could split this out into PlayStation as well, and then have a JP version which derives from that and inherits a bunch of this as well. So that's kind of my idea for how we could model Splat config. The other issue, though, that you run into with doing something like this is increasingly I've been wanting the tooling on the project to leverage what is in Splat config rather than everything kind of reproducing the same logic. And oh, that's interesting. SES0 does not have this SHA one. We should have a lint for that. So what I think would be nice is to be able to leverage this. If we add inheritance, there's already variable expansion and other things like that Splat does for the configuration. Now we need to do a little more, and so in that same change, I've exposed the Splat config loading as a public library that other scripts can use. So when you load the Splat YAML, you get all of that inheritance as well, and don't have to load the YAML directly. All right, so that's something I've been working on, not specifically Stoughton related, but I do think it'll be nice for especially PlayStation and PSP or PSP and PS2 projects that have a lot of overlays. The other thing that I was working on was looking at the library header. So every stage overlay has the same basic structure. This overlay struct at the beginning is unique. Here we're using abbreviated overlay. Other stages use the overlay struct. The first several fields in both of those are identical, and then overlay has some additional fields. In this case, the long library does not use those fields. And then there's a utility that was written by Zynamo called Soten Assets. And I will look at this one. And there's certain structures that are the same for all of the stages, sprite banks, graphics banks, etc. And normally what we can do is add those segments to this configuration and then map those in the splat config. And then you don't have to actually decompile any of that data, it's just extracted. And that's nice for a couple reasons. One being data gets a little kind of approaching the edge of is this copyrighted or not copyrightable. And so having a utility like this that extracts the data from the overlay, and so we're not actually touching it or checking it in, is kind of nice. Plus, it gets rid of a whole bunch of work that we don't need to do. And I think in the future for ports, tools like this are going to be necessary because you want people to supply their original disk, and at runtime, then you need tooling to grab the data from that disk at different sections and load it to the appropriate place. So all that's fine. The issue that I ran into, however, is the long library, as far as I can tell, is the first overlay that has multiple palettes. Multiple color lookup tables. And then I haven't figured out what exactly, but something with the graphics banks is also not supported in the assets tool. And I haven't decided yet whether I'm going to try to patch that. I'm not familiar with that tool really at all. Or should I just check in with a manually extracted version and go from there? I'm not sure. Like I said, that's not tooling that I've used before. But, so let's get back to one of the functions that I left, which was in the library shop. There is a function related to determining which items are available. And let's actually probably can just search for that because I think I may have the only one. And I wanted to see save this first, I guess. I wanted to see if we can finish off the rest of this function. There was something strange that was remaining in this saved. And so if there is a way to solve this today, that'd be great. Oh, what's going on? Splat, why are you loading? Let's try refreshing this page. splat on the mind. Decomp.me. All right, so still at 795, which is quite a ways away. We have some register issues here. I don't have the PSP version linked. Bad on me. I will find that now. So these are the same as far as I can tell, with the exception of this section supporting the additional items that are in the PSP version that aren't in the PlayStation version. And so let me find that. So 294 to find a PSP function that is relatively close. Don't think it's going to be this one. I don't remember the name offhand. And those look like the last ones I worked on, though. So let's check those. Not that. And that. This looks like it may be about right. This is it. And so we have the same or similar issues here for the other one. So I think I'll be working mostly in the PSP version, and then try to go back if possible. So I need, it looks like I did not save, which is unfortunate. So there's a few things here. Let me just replace the things below. And I should be able to get rid of all of these. And the alt inventory item shouldn't be a thing anymore. Let me grab that from the context for the PSP as well. Now it's called available inventory item. Looks like I had done a bunch of work here and then didn't save it. Bad job, me. Okay. There's several flags that need to be pulled in, so I'm going to go and grab those. We now have a Castle Flags header. I'm just going to grab this whole thing. Copy is my way of copying data from my terminal to a pasteboard in OS X. Just a little script. So we have that now. Nice long Castle Flags. I'm going to have to go through and find the other Castle Flags offset enum. Castle Flag offsets. And we're compiling slowly. Let's see, okay. So now we've compiled only 70%. Drat. So there was something that I missed and didn't bring along with me. Oh, that's it. I think we need to make sure that we are compiling for have the PSP macro enabled. There we go, 98%, that's good. That's what we expect. We can save that. And let's see what the issue is here. So register issue. So different variable being used. What I want to see is, can we, are these variables flipped? Is it just something that's missing? And it looks like it, there may be an additional S6 variable. Actually, these look like they're just out of order. And this is somewhat frustrating, but it happens on the PSP. So basically, we need to go through and order our variables and try to get them in the order we want. And we can do that usually by just changing their order. So the MetroWorks compiler is going to take variables of different size and group them. And I was under the impression that it was 32-bit values first. So let's go and find one of these examples. So S3 and S2 are swapped, and down on line 127, that's available item and current item. So let's see if we can switch those and get the right thing. It didn't. These are also 32-bit values, so we'll put them up along with our others. And those that did not switch anything that way either. Let's go up here, S2 and S3 up here. So these are the first things that are loaded, and we're loading available item first. So it would make sense for that to be declared first. But that isn't the way that, that this is working out. Changing the order won't really do anything. It is possible that these are declared in line, and that should work on the PlayStation as well, because nothing else is happening up here. So I'm going to try that and see if that changes anything. It doesn't look like it. And what about unlock level if we do that as well? It's not common to, well, not common that I've seen so far, that these would be declared in line. All right, so we have that issue still going on. S1 and S3. So that is our unlock level. And the unlock level is actually one of the last two variables to be declared. What is it? Let's find S0. See if that one is correct. S0 is on line 72. S0 is our item level. So it seems like declaring those in that order makes sense. Item count. S2 is... S2 was our current item. S3 being our available item. S4. So here these are swapped as well, 6970, line 6970. Item count and current item. Yeah, this is not affecting this ordering at all. That did. Finally. Okay, so moved item count up. Let's see if item level. Okay, so the other one was current item. Let's move that up and see if we can get that into the right position. Come on, M2C. Thrilling. No. So the other variable in this location is this S1 / S3. At line 66 is the unlock level. Let's move that up as well. Yeah, it would be nice if we could ignore the renaming. However, we need it because we're going for a matching decomp, and so we can't. We need it. Could be compiler quirks. It could be lots of different things, but there's something that's causing these to be assigned to the wrong registers, and we need to figure out what that is. So going back over to the PlayStation side, there is a few type issues that could be resolved, and it's possible that resolving those type issues will resolve the register issues as well. And so let's see if we can figure those out. So current item, or whatever is in S0 at this point, it actually looks like the unlock level is being cast as a 16-bit value here. So let's look at that. Unlock level is 16 bits, but we don't want that. We don't want to treat it like that. And such a pain. Trying to get rid of that mask by changing the type is not helping. Down on line 72. I was hoping that this was just a few things left to deal with, but it doesn't look like it's going to be. So with the switch, there is optimized GCC is going to roll up a bunch of different things in here, and so this is a switch without a jump table. It's just going to be doing the comparisons and branches directly. One of the things we're doing here is masking V1. That is not happening when we branch to offset 154, which is line 79, but it or it shouldn't be happening there, but it is. It's in the delay slot, and it's not happening when jumping to 1 AC, in our case 1B0, which is after the switch. So we're masking when we shouldn't be and not masking when we should be. That may be related to item level. Or unlock level. In either case, those aren't used up here, however. Annoyed. Howdy, Simon661. Good to have you. Thank you for joining. Glad you could catch live. It's going to be a shorter one today. Struggling with some typing here. I think I'm going to move on from this, and maybe I'll throw it in the permuter and see what the permuter can do with it. Let me clean up some of these extra declarations before I do that. And that should compile. We'll see. I think my workspace is clean. It is. That's good. So we'll go down to 29C4. This isn't going to compile, and that's, or it will compile, but it won't match. We have a conflicting type. That's worth looking at because if we know the type, it being an unsigned 8 here, this is actually wrong. I screwed this up when I wrote it. That is the wrong type. It should be an unsigned 16. So I'm gonna back out this change and fix this first and make sure that it works. Basically, it's an unsigned 16. However, it's only accessed as an 8-bit value, and so we're just taking the lower 8 bits. We're little endian, so the lower 8 bits come first. So this should compile and match. I think there's actually one more of these. No, that one I fixed already. All right, so now I'll go back and replace this. Not what I wanted. It looks like I had the wrong name for the function, and that's because I grabbed the PSP name. And so it fails, and the diff will show likely a lot of issues. Actually, much less than I thought. Often when there's differences, 1 or 2 instructions is enough to cause the rest of the file to be offset, and so the diff will display that. I'm using just that hex dump canonical output, which chunks it into 16-byte lines. And so if any offset exists in there, you're basically screwed for the rest of the file. In this case, it looks like the function ended up being the same size, or at least aligned to the same size. So there is a difference. The permuter is, if you haven't seen it before, the permuter is a tool that is used to take that function and, let's see, paste that. It's going to take that function and change its code hundreds of thousands of times, changing types, changing all kinds of different things, changing the order of statements, adding variables, removing variables, adding various hacks that are unholy, and eventually it may or may not find something useful. If often what it does is at least provides a hint as to what may be going on, and that's what I'm hoping for today, is just a hint. All right, I think that should be enough. So we're getting rid of the non-matchings directory, importing this assembly into the permuter in a way that is going to create the configuration necessary. It's a non-trivial configuration for the permuter, but there's this import script that'll do this for us. And then it will run it using 6 cores over and over. And I specified the wrong assembly file, .s. Still the wrong one. I missed a non-matching somewhere in here. What's that? All right. So we're missing. I misspelled non-matchings. There we go. So right away, it found something after just a handful of iterations. And so every once in a while, I'll go through and see what this has found. 420, make the jokes. So this is a pretty simple one, and likely most sides will be amenable to this, so we can go through and see how that looks on the PSP, see how it looks on the PlayStation. I'm going to start with the PlayStation side. To us, this doesn't necessarily seem different, but the compiler, it could make all the difference. And so yeah, that does get us a little bit closer. The permuter has already found another change that will work. So this is nice because we could do this manually. Maybe we should do it manually, but if the permuter will do it for us, let's let it. So I'm going to keep overwriting my header here. I'm going to add this back so I can find these files again. Okay, I agree. It's safe. And then we'll take this over to the PSP side. And this could be what's causing the register differences. And it could be absolutely nothing. It made no difference on the PSP side. Let's go down to line 124 and see what that looks like. Here, because we don't necessarily know the correct registers for these yet, it's hard to know if this is better or worse. It does change the ordering, though, of the masking, which is better. And that may be some of that masking that was missing. Let's go. We have another new best, which is 320. So this included the comparison change, and then it adds a new variable. I'm less excited about a new variable, so this is likely just a false positive. What kind of permutation is it trying? Yeah, so we can see some of those permutations. And yeah, this may be something. I think some people have looked at Copilot, for example, and what we need, and I haven't looked into how this could be done, but we need our corpus of extracted assembly to the things that we've compiled, and something that links those very closely together. And maybe an LLM then could find some of these tricks. The other thing that I've wanted to do, and it would just be so time consuming that I haven't, but write a, it would be interesting to write a reverse optimizer. So this is GCC 263, and we have the code for it. We know what the optimizer is doing. It would be, if you are going to write the bijection of like all the optimization passes, it's most likely that you'd get multiple solutions, and so you'd have to possibly compare all those solutions as well. I don't know what the like combinatorial explosion of all those solutions would be, and maybe it's too great. I don't know, and maybe it's, you know, maybe an optimizer is a good hashing function, and it's not reversible. But what we're doing isn't supposed to be reversible either, and here we are. Yes, lower is better in this case. The difference here is the same as the difference in decomp.me. Often they'll be slightly different because decomp.me, if you use a symbol that it doesn't know, it can't resolve that to whatever address. Whereas this is running a local build, and so those symbols will be resolved to addresses, and we get usually a slightly better score here. All right, so I'm going to keep that running in the background, sucking up my electricity. And we can move on to something different. What I do like to do, this will continue to run. Oh, I need to restart my capture. There we go. I like to check out that file, restore it to whatever is in get, and the way the permuter runs, it caches everything that it needs to run. So it'll keep running on that bad version of the file, but this way we can run and have a clean build. I am going to pull, and I do have some conflicts, and these are likely because the other my change from yesterday got merged, and this is the same branch. And so I think that no, it didn't get merged. Oh, never mind. We just have other things that are in this same space. So let's fix that. I will likely have to resubmit that PR then because of those conflicts. All right, and I'll see if I can get away with just an extract and make. And then we can pull something new. It might be fun. due to I haven't been able to fix this, and it probably is worth fixing. Um, it'll say that DRA is failed. What's happening is the timestamp for DRA is getting updated in a strange order. So when the tasks in make run to do the check, DRA has a later timestamp than its dependencies, but it hasn't. It's going to get an even later timestamp than that because it hasn't been rebuilt completely yet. So it's in a bad state. And that's due to parallel make. If we weren't using parallel make, it would be fine. Running it again, it'll be okay. Is it worth fixing? I don't know. I think the simpler fix is building. What I believe is happening is that DRA.bin is being built with the compiler and linker script, but then we have this other script that comes through later and puts some garbage in. And the garbage is necessary because of the way that the original compilation was done. There is some uninitialized data that got built into the final game. And without having exactly the build machine and exactly the same configuration, um, down to what was in RAM, we would never be able to rebuild the binary exactly. So we have some things that go through and just poke the random data back into the final binary. Um, yeah, so it's not that the dependencies are missing, it's that we're writing a file twice in one of the build recipes, and we shouldn't be doing that. So we modify it to build it, and then it's modified in place, and that's what causes the issue. There's a bunch of things like that in our build system that I would love to go through and fix, and it seems like I think Project Oblivion in Discord is getting fired up about that at the moment too. So maybe I'll take a look at some of that and fix those things. All right, so let's find what is in here. Let's grab a file of moderate difficulty. I'm going to do this. And I'll come back to that in a second. I want to see if anybody has found the ectoplasms. No, nobody has. So that would be fun to find. They're going to be in one of two places, most likely. They're going to be in this unknown 2FA80 or first C file. My guess is that they're going to be relatively large. So I want to find things that are in one of the unknown files and don't have a name yet. It would be nice. Maybe I'll do that. I'm going to. We're not going to decompile anything more today. I have to go soon. So I'm going to find a bunch of breakpoints, and we'll just try to find where those things are. So get rid of these other ones. It was fun yesterday. Finding all of this, all this stuff in the background. So I don't know if we'll find anything today, but may as well look. Need to fix my controller. that one. That one. For some reason, DockStation gives me 5 different controllers to choose from, and none of them are correct. Let's see if turning the controller on helps. Yeah, there we go. All right, so the ectoplasms are right here. So there may be 2, there may be 1, I don't know. Let's do this. I'm going to pause and then go open one of these files. So I'm going to open the splat config and get a sense of the layout and where we're missing different things. So we have the thornweed down here. That is in this section. Skeletons are in this section. Then we have primitive hoppers. Let's look at this 4F98 file and see if there is anything there. We do have a few things decompiled there already. So maybe somebody has found the ectoplasm and just not commented. But I'm going to go through and add all of these breakpoints and just kind of go down from top to bottom, adding each of these along the way. Slow going, but that's why it doesn't get found. And I think 2 more in here. And we'll see if any of these are the ectoplasms. The other thing I think I may start doing is going through and looking at some of the older code that was decompiled earlier on before our current state. I think we know more about the game than we did before, and so there's a lot of stuff that happened in the past that we don't, or code that was decompiled in the past that we don't necessarily know about yet. So none of these were related to the ectoplasm. I'm going to go up and see if we can trigger any of these further along. The books are another one that I think would be fun to find. Those have some geometry. There's our skeleton destroying me. Our thornweed, more books. So nothing here was triggered. Interestingly, we have some. No, we don't have fleamen down here. Nothing with the shop either. Oh, there is an entirely different section, and I spent a long time doing this. I don't think I have a save point here. Let's see if I can. My gaming skills are going to be put to the test here. Can I do the jump kick to get into this area out of order? Doesn't look like I'm going to be able to. I'm I've tried this multiple times in multiple playthroughs. Got the jump kick, or the dive kick, and always just cannot get this. There we go. So this area, you're not supposed to be able to, in game logic, you shouldn't be able to get here. I'm going to take a save point here. Oh. So there's this section over here. Oh, we hit a breakpoint. Great. Where you're supposed to have either the gravity boots or oh, you don't see the game running. I'm sorry. Well, you missed my awesome hack to get up here. Anyway, you're supposed to have gravity boots or power of mist to soul of mist, whatever the mist transformation is, to be able to get up here. And you actually can't get out. You can soft lock yourself into this section without either of those abilities. But I don't have either of those things yet, so I'm going to go over here carefully. So we hit this FA00 entity. I'm going to disable that breakpoint, and let me make sure that that is, yeah, the debugger is not up to date either. There we go. So I think this area is the area with lesser demon. But we'll also see some enemies, some flea men that are unique to this area. So we hit another one, OC4, which is the next entity down. So likely one of those is the flea men. So these are interesting flea men. They're armored and they have axes and they're much stronger. It may as well be Metroid. It is not, but I'm going to get destroyed by these guys. Too powerful for me. Oh, we hit another one. Interesting. So all of these seem to be, so this is 2D0. All of these seem to be related to things in this area. And yet another one. Okay, so this is one of those is likely this explosion that's occurring. This one is at 304. And the next one, 1C8. So it looks like we found this whole section. So I did get that. So it looks like all the armor is probably a flea man and the normal code for a flea man, but then having this armor entity on top of it, and the armor entity probably looks at a bunch of the. I'm gonna die. I'm gonna die so bad. Looks at a bunch of the elements of the flea man entity to get positions and other things like that. So we found a bunch of that there. I don't know if there's anything. There's more of these. One of these stupid flea men. They're miserable without their armor and axe. I'm just gonna go right past them, jump underneath them, have them jump over me, or not. We'll see. The jewel knuckle doesn't help. While it's nice and powerful, it the range is so tight no hitbox advantage. So down below here is where Lesser Demon is, and so we'll go see if that triggers. There's a couple things that may be interesting down here as well. I can live. Actually, I have the stopwatch, and so it probably would just be a good idea to use the stopwatch. So Lesser Demon is not getting okay, so we hit another 6-4C this time. So let's see what appears. And another 2-9-8. So the Mudman, or Golem, is he really... Can I not? Is he invulnerable? Alright. So I think I'll end it there, though. Except for the 19 or the F918, which is the first function in that file, everything else was in this area, which is pretty neat. So what I'll look at next is this F918. Is it being called by any of these functions, or is it a an entity itself? So I'm looking in the non-matching, I'm looking in this file, and I'm going to look in data to see if it shows up anywhere. They show up in data. It's showing up, my guess is in the entity list. So this is an entity that my guess is has not been seen yet. It may not be in that section at all. So remains to be seen whether this is related or not. Maybe the file should be split around this function. One last thing I thought about, I remember what it is. Nope, slipped my mind. So I think that's it. We found, I'll make a note here about all of this being in the Lesser Demon area. There's a great and some other stuff after the Lesser Demon. If I was better at playing, I would have been able to show you that as well. But that's it. If you want to know more about Castlevania Symphony of the Night and the Decompilation project, you can go to soten.z.dev and see what we've been decompiling. I'm here Monday through Thursday, noon Pacific time, doing this every day, 4 days a week. Soten.z.dev, you'll see the progress that we've been working on. We took a little bit of a look at the long library today. The caverns were just added. I don't know what was it added? It was not added to the progress. So we don't see it. I'll reload just in case. Oh. Of course, nothing is working in OBS. I think Apple does this just to be funny. They will break APIs. Is it here? No, Cavern's not here yet. Cavern is a new overlay that was added. I don't think I'll look at that until the library is closer to being done. We have a lot of new contributors, which is great, but that means that we're stepping on each other's toes quite a bit. The other thing that I mentioned at the beginning, if you weren't here, and just to recap some of the other work that's being done, some changes that I'm going to submit to the Splat project to add inheritance support to splat config, which will allow us to reduce the complexity and duplication we have in a lot of the overlays. And so we'll see if they're amenable to that change or not. But that's all I have. Adios. I will be back for a longer time tomorrow. See you then. Bye. Hey, Entropy Gravity Well. Good to have you.